What is going on, YouTube? Your boy Rodrigo coming at you today with a lower body workout using resistant bands only. Now if you haven't seen the upper body workout yet, make sure you click on the link that shows up over there in the corner. Now let's talk about the bands we're going to use today. We are going to use something a little bit different than we did for the upper body. So let's introduce our mini bands, and we have also textile bands for our long bands and for the mini bands. Now this one here is the glute loop. These are regular mini bands from Perform Better. These bands are used in the upper body workout. You already know those. And these are NT loops. There. Now what I like about those textile ones are it's a lot nicer on the skin, and the tension kicks in really fast compared to the regular latex rubber ones, whatever you want to call them. I don't like them though to actually push a lot on the strength. I always feel like I'm going to rip them if I go too far with those. So I still prefer this kind of ones for like some hard strength work. I'm also not going to be using the little tube ones because, like I said in the previous video for the upper body workout, they're not as resilient, so they wear out faster. So I'd rather be stepping on these because I know they can take more of a beating than the tubing ones and then have them rip up real fast. You don't want that happening. So we're going to be using the textile ones, these ones, for putting things around our body and things like that, or putting the bands around our body. And this one too with one of my favorite hip warm-up exercises. So let's get to this. So we're starting our warm-up here with some quarter hip circles in quadruped position. The pelvis and the belly button stay down, they do not rotate. I'm pretty much going from a donkey kick position to a fire hydrant position, smoothly and always squeezing as high as I can every time. Then some side leg raises. Again, torso does not move, pelvis does not move. I'm holding with a long exhale. This is all sped up at 2 times speed. Getting a lot of work on those outside hip muscles here. Now we will have the mini band around the legs, close to the knees. We're starting with the hips all the way up and then squeeze the knees together, squeeze the knees apart like you're trying to break the band, 20 reps. Then we keep the knees super wide, up and down with the hips for another 20, really clenching the butt cheeks at the top position. And then we'll repeat both for 10 reps. This gets those glutes working very hard, really burning, one of my personal favorites. Alright, so now that we're warmed up, we're going to get into our strength work. Now, for this lower body workout, it's going to be quite a bit more higher rep work, just because using resistance bands doesn't translate very well when you try to do like really hard maximum strength work, just because the way bands work. So you'll see people like throwing bands around their like neck, stepping on it to do squats and things like that, but there's like no resistance. Doesn't matter how many bands you use of those big ones, there's like no resistance towards the bottom end of the squat, and you get most of the resistance to like the top quarter or so. So it becomes pretty ineffective because you're already strong there. You don't need to get that much stronger there. You need to work the lower end a lot more. So what you see today is going to be things that put different angles to use in our muscles that maybe we don't get as much with regular free weights or whatever else you tend to use. Starting here with our single leg reach variation, we have the band wrapped around our back, anchored to the shoulder furthest away from the anchor of the band. Now here, the leg that's closest to that band anchor will be staying on the floor. The other leg reaches close to the ground, as far back as possible. We're trying to get the torso as horizontal as we can manage. That elevated hip, so the right side in this case, is really turning towards the floor as much as we can. Even that shoulder too, the torso rotates a little bit like we're trying to stretch the band. There is a lot of work being done by the standing leg, starting with that foot. So you might feel those foot muscles getting tired, shin, calf muscles, because they do have to work a lot to keep everything stabilized, which is great because those feet tend to be really weak on most people. Obviously, we always have smooth transitions from here. Now, when you need to make this exercise harder, you just scoot away from the anchor, but only do it like 1 inch at a time. That way you don't go too far, because this can get very tense, very challenging super quickly by just moving a little bit. We are also stretching that glute, that butt cheek of that standing leg under load quite a bit more than you're probably used to. So you're probably going to feel that working. Also, as you go through the exercise, through the movement, the band tension changes as you go up and down. So there is there's a learning curve to that you have to experience. So take it slow in the beginning and figure out how much you have to lean away from that band anchor to really get this. It's also hard to see this here, but that arm that's closest to the bike rack here is just resting on the band. We're not holding onto it. Now make sure you take note of our setup here in our second exercise. We are starting from the bottom position and we are stepping on the band with our front foot and wrapping the other end of the band around the opposite side shoulder. Then we're just going into a reverse lunge, always trying to kiss the floor with that back knee. So the more of the band you step on with that front foot to begin with, the higher the tension you're going to receive on this exercise. The less of the band you step on, the easier it gets. So you can adjust that accordingly. I'm also lightly gripping one part of the band to make sure it doesn't slide off my shoulder. Here, we're working those quads and a little bit of the glutes as well. As we progress through our workout, notice that we always have a front side focused exercise versus a back side focused exercise. So something that works the quads a little bit more and there's a little bit more knee bending, that's going to be more of a squatting movement. And then something that usually bends the hips more is going to be more of a hip hinge movement. We're also going to have a little bit of a lateral mini band walk. So just think of them as a hip hinge working the butt, hamstrings, and the squatting motions working the quads quite a bit more. You may be familiar with this next exercise. However, I'm going to show you some little details that would make this much more efficient way to do them. First off, we got the two bands as you can see here. Then the feet are always shoulder width apart or a little bit wider. So I'm never letting the feet come close together. I'm taking choppy little steps. So I'm always staying under tension, never stopping. The feet are also always slightly turned in to make sure we're getting into those outside hip muscles, and the knees are never collapsing inwards. So on this banded squat variation, I have that blue textile band pretty much folded in half so that each of my legs is in one separate loop. That way it's more comfortable. When we do this, we really want to think about trying to hyperextend the knees at the top position and straighten the hips. So squeeze the butt cheeks also at the top position. You will find you have to lean backwards from the heels, from the very bottom of your body, to make sure that you do not fall over and the band doesn't pull you. This is a big quad burner, so enjoy it. Don't stop mid-set. Just keep pumping it as much as you can. All right, guys, so we're getting into the last set of exercises. The sun is setting. I'm running out of daylight here. So last two. Hopefully you've been liking the workout so far. If you have been, leave a comment below. Let me know how it went, if you made it happen. Notice I'm only attaching the bands to just a bike rack. So if you have anything at home that's sturdy that can hold you, that can hold the band in place without you falling over, you can do this at home as well. So, last two exercises. Grab the band in the middle, creating two bunny ear loops, and we step one foot into each loop. That way the hands are a little bit more between the legs or in front of the legs. We just push the hips back and forth into this almost straight leg deadlift movement, keeping the spine neutral and long. Now, typically, I would do this motion a little bit sooner, earlier in the workout because it's a very strong motion. But since we don't have a lot of resistance through the whole thing here, we're doing this at the end where the muscles are already a little bit more pre-fatigued, so we can feel this a lot more. Start on a quadruped position with the hands resting on top of the band, and the more tension you start on the band here, the harder this exercise will be, so just let go of the tension that's necessary. Now this one is a serious quad burner. Make sure the heels stay way off the ground, very high the whole time, and you always come back down to hips on heels at the bottom. Think hyperextend the knees at the very top position and just keep moving. Don't stop between reps. Don't rest in the middle of the set. Also, you should always feel like you're pushing away from your hands through the whole set. All right, everybody, that's it for today. I hope you like the workout. It's definitely more of a pump type of workout, really getting the muscles uh, going, getting some more blood into them, a little bit higher rep, but it's still pretty efficient workout. You're getting all angles worked for the lower body. Stay tuned for the third video on this series of exercise band workouts, where we are going to talk about the core. There's all this that's in the torso section. So leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications on that little bell somewhere on the screen. I don't know where it is. Until then, I will see you then.